Medicine is changing, and so are the doctors who practice it. Have you ever wondered why younger physicians today are prioritizing work-life balance, while veterans like Dr. Vaughn, a 30-year ER veteran, see it as a loss of commitment? Or how the rise of technology and AI is reshaping the heart of patient care? This week on The Deep Scope, we're diving into the generational divide in medicine. From burnout to breakthroughs, what does this shift mean for doctors, for patients, and for the future of healthcare? Stick around, because this conversation might just change the way you see the future of medicine.
Welcome back to The Deep Scope, everybody. This week we're doing a deep dive into a topic that's been making some noise in the medical world.
Yeah, there's been a lot of talk about this lately.
It's that disconnect, that tension between older and younger physicians when it comes to work-life balance and what it really means to be a doctor, in this day and age.
Yeah.
We've got a whole bunch of articles here from the Wall Street Journal that really lay out this kind of generational divide.
It's fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah, and they do it with some pretty striking real-world examples, too. It's really interesting. So, it used to be, years ago, medicine was seen as more of a calling, like demanding these crazy long hours,
right,
and real serious dedication. But it seems like things are changing, especially among these newer doctors.
Yeah, there's definitely a shift happening.
Yeah, they're really prioritizing a more balanced lifestyle.
Yeah.
So what do you think is driving this change?
Well, there are a lot of factors at play here.
Yeah.
And what do you think it means for the future of healthcare for the patients?
That's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah.
So one of these articles kicks off with this really interesting story, anecdote about this seasoned surgeon, Dr. Jefferson Vaughn. He's been practicing at Jupiter Medical Center down in Florida.
Oh, okay.
For over 30 years.
Wow.
And he regularly takes on those, tough ER call duties, 5 to 7 nights a month. But he's noticing that, his younger colleagues, the ones who are more specialized, they seem to really prefer, predictable schedules.
Yeah, they're looking for more of that work-life balance.
Right, exactly. So it makes you wonder. I mean, is this just like a generational difference?
Yeah.
Or is there something bigger, something more fundamental changing in the world of medicine?
That's the big question. I think it's probably a bit of both, to be honest. I mean, each generation comes with its own set of values and priorities.
Right.
But I think there are also some pretty significant changes happening in healthcare right now, kind of broader systemic changes.
Yeah.
We're seeing a big shift away from the traditional model of private practice.
Yeah, that's true.
And more physicians are becoming employees of these large healthcare systems.
Great.
And this change in the way work is structured, this shift, it probably plays a big role in how physicians view their role, their responsibilities.
Oh, absolutely. Their whole sense of their job and what it means.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a really interesting point, and the data seems to back that up. This article says that among physicians under 45, only 32% own their own practices, compared to 51% of those between 45 and 55.
That's a big difference.
Huge.
Yeah.
And so it does feel like this trend toward employment, this could be feeding into this feeling among some younger doctors that we're just cogs in a wheel, as the article puts it, widgets in a system,
right,
as opposed to being independent practitioners.
Right.
It's like they're losing that sense of autonomy and control over their own careers.
Yeah, right. And I think for a lot of doctors, especially those who went into medicine with a real sense of purpose, that can be really tough to grapple with.
Absolutely. And it's not just about schedules either.
No, it goes deeper than that.
This article profiles Dr. Cara Grace Leventhal.
Oh, okay.
She's a hospitalist who's been, she's been very open about her experience trying to prioritize work-life balance, especially since, she has a young family at home.
Of course. Yeah.
And she really encourages, she advocates for doctors to make their own well-being a priority.
It's about taking care of yourself so you can take care of others.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
She says, and this is a great quote, we have to take care of ourselves in order to take care of other people.
That's so true.
Isn't that powerful?
It is.
And it really lines up with some pretty concerning data that came out of the American Medical Association.
Oh, what's that?
Nearly half of all doctors are reporting feeling burnt out.
Yeah, that's a really alarming statistic.
That's huge.
And I think it's something that we really need to pay attention to.
We do.
Because physician burnout, it doesn't just impact the doctors themselves.
Right.
It impacts the quality of care that patients receive.
Absolutely.
So it's a system-wide problem.
Yeah. That raises a really, really important question, I think. And maybe you can speak to this a little bit.
Sure.
I mean, could this shift, this movement towards prioritizing work-life balance, could this actually improve the quality of patient care in the long run?
That's a really interesting question. And I think the answer is, it's complicated.
It's probably not a simple yes or no.
Right. It's not a simple yes or no. There's a lot of nuance there. On the one hand, if doctors are feeling burnt out, stressed, and overwhelmed, they're not going to be at their best.
Right.
They're not going to be able to provide the same level of care.
They can't be as attentive. They can't be as present.
Exactly. But on the other hand, if doctors are feeling more balanced and fulfilled in their personal lives,
Right.
that could translate to better patient care.
Right. They can bring that energy and that focus to their patients.
Exactly. It's about finding that sweet spot where doctors are able to take care of themselves so they can take care of their patients.
That makes a lot of sense.
And it's not easy.
No.
There's no easy answer. But there is one statistic that I found pretty startling when I was reading through these articles.
Okay, I'm curious to hear this.
Residents now only spend about 13% of their time actually in patient rooms.
13%.
According to one study.
Wow, that's a huge shift.
It is a big shift.
And the article also spends some time unpacking the role of technology in all of this.
Yeah, technology is a big part of the equation.
Huge part. And it seems to be a bit of a double-edged sword.
Absolutely. It can be both a blessing and a curse.
It really can. On the one hand, you've got all these AI tools emerging that could really help streamline things, like transcription, paperwork, things that could potentially take some of that burden off of physicians' shoulders.
Yeah, that's the promise of technology, right?
Right. But then on the other hand, many doctors are feeling totally swamped by these administrative tasks.
Right.
They're spending hours and hours on electronic health records, charting.
Yeah.
Hey.
Clicking through all these different screens.
Clicking away.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, instead of connecting with their patients.
Yeah, it's taking them away from the human interaction.
Totally.
Which is really the heart of medicine.
Exactly. So it's almost like technology is adding to the problem instead of solving it, in some ways.
In some ways, yes.
Okay, quick switch up. If you're looking for a reliable, secure, and time-saving AI scribe, check out Scribe Medica. It's designed to help clinicians save up to 3 hours a day with accurate, HIPAA-compliant notes. Find the link in the description below.
One quote that really, really struck me was from Dr. Mary Lung. She's an oncologist who also works as a life coach.
Interesting.
For doctors who are experiencing burnout.
Oh, wow.
And she said that, in this really hit home for me. She said that a lot of physicians, they feel like they're just charting machines.
Yeah, dehumanized.
Or clickers, just forced to do paperwork late into the night.
Yeah. It's taking away from the joy of practicing medicine.
Totally. And it's this really, sobering reminder of the hidden costs of this increasingly digital healthcare system that we're all, a part of.
Mm-hmm. It's something we need to be mindful of, how technology is impacting the human side of healthcare.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So when you take a step back, and you look at this bigger picture, it seems like the very definition of what it means to be a good doctor, it's changing. It's evolving.
Yeah, that's a really insightful observation. And I think you're right. The traditional model of what it meant to be a good doctor, it often involved this idea of self-sacrifice, being available 24/7, putting the patient's needs above your own, always.
Right.
And I think for older generations of physicians, that was really ingrained in their training, in their culture.
It was part of their identity almost.
Exactly. But younger physicians are coming up in a different world.
Right. They have different priorities, different values.
Exactly. And they're looking for a more sustainable approach, one that allows them to have a fulfilling life outside of medicine.
To have a family.
To have hobbies.
To take care of themselves.
Exactly. And I think that's a good thing.
It is.
We need doctors who are healthy and well-rounded.
Absolutely.
Not just for their own sake, but for the sake of their patients as well.
It all comes back to that, doesn't it?
It does.
So this article actually highlights this tension playing out in a hospital setting, and it contrasts the perspective of Dr. Vaughn, that veteran surgeon we talked about earlier,
right,
with some of the younger doctors he works with. And he's been quoted as saying things like, all us old guys are taking ER call, and you got guys in their 30s at home every night. And then he also said there was a time when the patient came first. And you can almost feel the frustration in his voice.
Yeah.
What he sees is this decline in commitment.
I can see how he would feel that way. I mean, from his perspective, it might seem like the younger generation is not as dedicated, but I think it's important to remember that the healthcare landscape has changed dramatically since he started his career.
Oh, absolutely.
Physicians today face a whole different set of pressures and challenges.
Totally different world.
For example, the article points out that resident work hours are now much more regulated.
That's right.
To prevent dangerous levels of sleep deprivation.
Yeah, that was a huge change.
And while this is a hugely positive step for physician well-being,
for sure,
and for patient safety, it also means that younger doctors aren't getting the same kind of immersive around-the-clock training that previous generations did.
It's a completely different training model now.
Exactly. So it's not just about attitudes or work ethic.
Right.
It's also about the way the structure of the medical profession has changed.
It's a whole different ballgame.
Exactly.
And then, of course, you've got the rise of technology, which, as we mentioned, it's both a blessing and a curse.
Right. It's a double-edged sword.
It created this situation where doctors are feeling constantly tethered to their devices, spending hours clicking through electronic records instead of having, face-to-face interactions with their patients.
And that's a real loss.
It is.
Because that human connection, that's what makes medicine so special.
Absolutely. Yeah. And another big factor that the article touches on is this financial pressure that's really reshaping the medical profession.
Oh, yeah. The financial side of things is huge.
I mean, we're seeing more and more young doctors choosing to work for large healthcare systems or hospitals instead of going into private practice.
Yeah, that's a definite trend.
And a big part of that is just the rising cost of running a private practice these days.
It's incredibly expensive.
Things like malpractice insurance premiums have just skyrocketed in recent years.
It's a huge barrier to entry for a lot of young physicians.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's making it really tough for physicians to go out on their own and be independent.
Right. And it's changing the whole dynamic of the doctor-patient relationship.
Absolutely. And the article gives a really, really stark example of this with a quote from Dr. Joseph Comfort. Right. He's a physician who sold his anesthesiology practice back in 2003.
Okay.
And he reflects on this shift, this shift towards employment, And he says, and this is a pretty powerful quote. He says, "We've been ripped down off our pedestals."
Wow.
We took it, referring to, the long hours being on call, because we considered ourselves to be masters of our own fate. Now everything's changed.
Yeah.
Doctors are like any other employee. And that's how the new generation is behaving.
That's a really profound statement.
It is, and it really speaks to this kind of, this change in the power dynamic.
Absolutely.
In the autonomy.
Yeah.
And it gets to the heart of this issue of physician burnout.
Right. When doctors feel like they have less control over their work, less say in how things are done.
Yeah.
And they're constantly bombarded with administrative tasks.
It's no wonder that burnout rates are so high.
Exactly. It's a recipe for burnout.
It really is.
Yeah.
And it's clear that this is a really multifaceted issue.
Yeah. There's no easy answer.
And the article does a really, really great job of presenting the different perspectives of physicians across generations.
That's important.
And it's not about, pointing fingers.
No.
Or saying who's right or wrong.
It's about understanding.
It's about recognizing that the medical profession is in a state of transition.
Absolutely.
And finding a sustainable way forward. That's going to require open communication and a willingness to adapt to the changing realities of healthcare.
I couldn't agree more. There's no single solution that's going to fix everything.
Right.
It's about finding a way to provide excellent patient care while also creating a work environment that supports the well-being of physicians.
It's about finding that balance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We have to acknowledge the challenges,
right.
understand the different viewpoints, and work together to create a system that benefits both patients and the people who care for them.
It's a team effort.
Absolutely. It's kind of wild to think, that this whole generational shift and this push for work-life balance, it could actually lead to some positive changes, in healthcare overall.
You're right. The article does kind of point to a few potential solutions.
Yeah.
Like, for example, Dr. Maria Ansari, she's the CEO of the Permanente Medical Group.
Okay.
She suggests that, this rise of virtual work,
right,
that could be a way to give physicians more flexibility.
Makes sense.
More control over their schedules.
Yeah, that's a great point. And then she also talks about the potential of AI, to help reduce some of that administrative burden
right.
that physicians are dealing with.
Yeah.
Just imagine like a future where AI can, seamlessly handle things like transcribing patient conversations, writing up those electronic notes.
Oh, man.
That would free up so much time for doctors to actually, interact with their patients.
I mean, that would be a game changer, wouldn't it?
Oh,
but like with any new technology, there's always going to be challenges.
Of course, yeah.
Concerns that come along with it.
Right.
And we have to make sure that these AI tools they're implemented in a way that truly enhances patient care.
Absolutely.
And doesn't accidentally create like new obstacles.
Yeah, we need to be thoughtful about how we integrate AI into healthcare. We don't want to just replace one set of problems with another.
Right.
We need to make sure that it's actually improving things for both patients and doctors.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We have to be really careful about unintended consequences.
Exactly. For instance, like if we become too reliant on these standardized AI protocols, right? There's a risk of losing some of that, that nuanced judgment,
right?
That personalized care that experienced physicians bring to the table.
The human touch.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Technology can be a powerful tool, but it shouldn't replace the human element of medicine.
It's all about finding that balance, right?
Absolutely.
Between the power of technology and the human touch, the human element.
And it's going to require careful planning,
Yeah.
ongoing evaluation to make sure that these new technologies are really serving the best interests of everyone involved.
Of both patients and providers.
Exactly.
It's a partnership.
It is.
So, technology is just one piece of the puzzle, right?
Yeah.
When it comes to creating a more sustainable future for healthcare.
Right. It's not a silver bullet.
We also need to be looking at shifting attitudes and expectations within the medical profession itself.
Yeah. There needs to be a cultural shift as well.
While older doctors, they might have seen it as, this profession that demanded complete self-sacrifice. Like you give everything to it.
Right.
Younger physicians, they seem to be looking for a more balanced approach.
They want a life outside of medicine as well.
Exactly. One that allows them to have fulfilling lives.
Yeah, to have families, to pursue hobbies, to travel.
Outside of medicine, too.
Exactly. And I think that's a good thing. I mean, we need doctors who are well-rounded, who have interests outside of medicine.
It makes them better doctors, I think.
I think so, too.
They can bring those experiences, those perspectives to their patients.
Well, absolutely. And this shift in perspective, it's starting to show up in the career choices that younger doctors are making.
Oh, yeah.
The article points out that more and more physicians are choosing, like temporary work arrangements,
right?
Things like locum tenens positions,
right,
which offer a lot more flexibility and control over their schedules.
Interesting. So they're prioritizing that autonomy and work-life balance.
Exactly.
Even if it means stepping outside of that traditional career path.
They're willing to forge their own path.
It's really fascinating.
And I think we're going to see this trend continue, as the healthcare landscape evolves.
Right.
With the demand for physicians continuing to grow faster than the supply,
Yeah. Healthcare systems, they're going to have to get more creative, more flexible if they want to attract and retain top talent.
It makes sense. Healthcare systems, they need to adapt, right, to the changing expectations of of the workforce.
Absolutely.
If they want to stay competitive.
You need to be able to offer what younger physicians are looking for.
And it all comes down to recognizing, that a happy and fulfilled physician, they're ultimately going to be a better physician for their patients.
Absolutely. Happy doctors make for better care.
It really feels like we're at this pivotal moment, in the history of medicine.
Yeah, it's a time of great change.
This generational divide, it's really making us, re-examine the very foundations of the profession.
Right. We're having to rethink what it means to be a doctor.
And rethink what it means to be a doctor in the 21st century.
Exactly. The old models are no longer working. One thing that really stood out to me in the article was this difference in perspectives on mentorship and training.
Oh, interesting.
Dr. Joel Katz, he led the residency program at Brigham and Women's Hospital for 20 years.
Okay.
And he talks about how the concept of medicine as a calling,
Right.
it's actually seen as triggering and offensive.
Wow.
By some residents.
Really?
They see it as code for being overworked and taken advantage of.
That's a really interesting perspective.
It really is. And it suggests that we need to rethink how we approach mentorship.
Right.
For the next generation of physicians.
It's not a one-size-fits-all approach anymore.
We need to find ways to inspire them that resonate with their values and aspirations.
Yeah. We need to meet them where they are.
And that might look different than the traditional models of the past.
Absolutely. The old ways of doing things might not be relevant anymore.
Maybe it's time to move away from that top-down approach.
Yeah.
Where senior physicians, they impart their wisdom, and younger doctors are just expected to follow in their footsteps.
Yeah. It needs to be more of a two-way street.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think maybe it's more about creating, like a collaborative and supportive environment.
That's a good point.
Where everyone feels comfortable sharing their perspectives.
Yeah, create a space for open dialogue.
And where younger physicians, they feel empowered to question the status quo. And to offer their own ideas for improvement.
That's how we innovate.
Right. An environment where their voices are heard.
Yeah.
And valued.
That's so important.
So instead of seeing this generational divide as a problem, maybe it's an opportunity for growth and innovation within the medical profession.
I think that's a great way to look at it.
Yeah.
By embracing the diversity of perspectives, working together, we can build a healthcare system that's both effective and sustainable.
That benefits everyone involved.
Exactly. Patients, doctors, nurses, everyone.
That's a really hopeful outlook.
I think it's important to be hopeful because despite the challenges,
right,
there's a lot of good work being done.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And while we've talked a lot about the challenges, it's important to acknowledge that there are a lot of people out there who are working really hard to find solutions to make things better.
Yeah. There are a lot of people who are passionate about improving healthcare.
Absolutely.
And that's really encouraging.
Change doesn't happen overnight.
No, it takes time.
And there's definitely going to be bumps along the road.
For sure.
But every step we take towards creating, a more supportive and sustainable healthcare system, it's a step in the right direction.
Absolutely. Every step counts.
It's an ongoing conversation,
Yeah.
And it's a conversation that needs to involve everyone.
Right. It's not just about doctors.
Physicians, patients, policymakers, healthcare leaders. I mean, we all have a stake in this.
We all have a role to play.
Before we wrap things up, I want to circle back to something we talked about earlier. This whole role of technology.
Yeah, technology is going to be a major force in shaping the future of healthcare.
It's pretty clear that the technology is going to continue to play a huge role in shaping the future of healthcare. But as we discussed, there are both potential benefits and risks that come with it.
Right. It's a double-edged sword.
And as we move forward, we need to really carefully consider the ethical implications of these new technologies.
Right, absolutely.
And make sure they're being used in a way that aligns with our values and our priorities.
That's crucial. For example, we need to be thinking about how to prevent AI algorithms from perpetuating biases that already exist in healthcare.
Oh, yeah.
And how to ensure that these technologies are accessible to all patients, regardless of their socioeconomic status or where they live.
Those are crucial considerations. And we also have to remember that technology it's a tool. Right? And like any tool, it can be used for good or for bad.
That's right. Technology is neutral.
And the choices we make as a society about how we develop and implement these technologies, they're going to determine their ultimate impact.
It's about using technology wisely and ethically.
So it's not just about the technology itself.
Right.
It's about the human decisions that guide its development and use.
Our values need to guide our use of technology.
Exactly. Our choices need to be driven by commitment to equity. To compassion and the well-being of all.
Those are the values that should be at the heart of our healthcare system.
This has been a really fascinating conversation.
Yeah.
And I feel like we've only just scratched the surface of this incredibly complex topic.
Yeah, it's a lot to unpack.
But I think it's clear that we're at a turning point in healthcare.
Yeah. Things are changing rapidly.
And the choices we make now, I mean, they're going to have a lasting impact.
They will shape the future of medicine. We've spent a lot of time focusing on the challenges and the problems, but I think it's important to kind of end this deep dive on a hopeful note. Even with all these tensions and these different viewpoints, I really do see a lot of reasons to be optimistic about the future of medicine.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, it's been. As we've been kind of going through these articles, it's been really inspiring to see so many physicians who are just so deeply committed to their patients and who are really, really passionate about making the healthcare system better, for everybody.
Absolutely. And I think this generational shift that we've been unpacking,
right.
While it definitely brings challenges,
Yeah.
It's also pushing us to have some really crucial conversations about, work-life balance, physician, well-being, what it really means to be a good doctor in this modern age.
You're right. It's forcing us to kind of acknowledge some hard truths about the current state of healthcare.
All right.
Like the fact that nearly half of all physicians are feeling burnt out. I mean, that's a pretty alarming statistic. That's something we can't ignore.
We can't, and we shouldn't. But by facing these issues head on, and working together to find solutions, I really believe we can create a healthcare system that's both effective and sustainable, one that truly supports the well-being of both patients and the incredible people who care for them.
I think you're right, and that's where you come in. Our listeners, as healthcare providers yourselves, you're on the front lines. You're grappling with these challenges every day. So we'd love to hear from you. What insights have you gained from your own experiences? Have you seen any promising solutions emerging in your own practice or hospital system?
Yeah. What's working, what isn't?
Share your experiences with us, on social media or drop us an email. Your insights are so valuable as we all kind of try to navigate this evolving landscape of healthcare together.
We can all learn from each other.
This deep dive has been incredibly thought-provoking, and honestly, I'm walking away with a sense of cautious optimism.
I am too.
There are big challenges ahead, no doubt.
Yeah.
But there's also this growing awareness of these issues and a real willingness to explore new ways of doing things.
People are ready for change.
That's really encouraging.
And I think that's what gives me hope. We're having these conversations. We're acknowledging the problems, and we're starting to look for solutions together.
It's a journey, right?
It is, but I think we're headed in the right direction.
So to all of you out there, on the front lines of healthcare, thank you. Thank you for the incredible work that you do every day. Your dedication and resilience are truly an inspiration. And until next time, this is The Deep Scope, signing off.